Hello world, welcome back to the Final Girl Countdown. Today we will be discussing the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the 1974 film directed by Tobe Hooper and starring Marilyn Burns as Sally Hardesty. This movie tells the story of Sally, her brother, and some friends as they go through Texas in order to see if their grandfather has been a victim of a series of recent grave robbings, and soon find themselves waylaid by Leatherface and the rest of the Sawyer family. The film itself is really interesting in that there's a lot of stuff that is more implied than shown. There's barely any on-screen violence, and in fact, director Tobe Hooper was trying to get a PG rating for it. Depicted is more someone getting hit in the head with a hammer and some slight knife cuts to hands, but the movie itself is still very intense. Um, Especially at the end, the Marilyn Burns is incredibly good at screaming, and it really feels by the end that you are actually watching someone get legitimately tortured, which may or may not be true depending on what your opinion of the behind the scenes stuff of how that movie was made, but that's another issue entirely. In terms of a killer, Leatherface is pretty interesting in that he's a very animalistic person. Like you don't really get much sense of a personality because I mean he acts, he does what he's told to, and there's a little bit of him doing different things kind of depending on what mask he's wearing at the time, as opposed to some other killers like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, where they just do one thing. They just like mindlessly hunt people down. Leatherface is I don't really know how to describe him. Definitely interesting to watch. Also, one small odd thing worth noting is that he doesn't, for the most part, he doesn't really hunt down victims. With I guess one or two small chases. Notwithstanding, it's the movie more has a lot of case of people just kind of stumbling into him. So in that case, it's almost more like a spider waiting in its web rather than like a lion or a cheetah or something hunting down prey. In terms of the actual final girls, Sally is final in the sense of being like the last one around, but there's no actual like fighting back against the killers. It's more of a like a self-preservation. Okay, I need to get away from this situation. Run when you can, rather than I need to defeat this force of evil. So that's something that this is definitely a really early version of the final girl trope. Actually came out the same year as Black Christmas, just as a random side. So there are some aspects of this that carry through into other movies, and there are some aspects that change. I think later on, the final girl is definitely more focused on defeating whatever force of evil is pursuing her rather than just surviving. So this is definitely a major difference in terms of that. Um, Other than that, the movie itself has a very grimy look to it, partially just because of the low production value, and partially because that's what the director was going for, and then also partially because it was shot on 16 millimeter, which gives it a bit of a lower quality than something that was shot on 35 millimeter or a digital production nowadays. But other than that, it's a very intense movie. It's not the easiest thing to watch just because of that, but yeah, I think that's all I really have to say on this matter. I'll be back later with another movie. Haven't decided what yet. Yeah. Don't forget to check out Final Girl Season 3 on Kickstarter by Ryder Games.